Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Anderson, joined for the second straight night by with Josh Bowe of Mavs Moneyball as well. We're coming to you. It's about 9:25. Sorry for the late start time on the stream. The Dallas Mavericks defeated the Brooklyn Nets 119-107. It was Kyrie's first return back to Brooklyn. Really a delightfully entertaining game. I sort of struggled to figure out what we're going to talk about here, other than the fact that the Mavericks sort of came out, punched the Nets in the mouth, repeatedly punched the Nets in the mouth, and then went cold for just a little bit, only to score enough to kind of close out the game. Yeah. How much of this did you get to watch?
I watched pretty much all of it. I think I got a little, like, I missed like the first, I just caught up on DVR, but I didn't sit down right at game time, but I was able to fast forward through commercials to get the live play quick enough because of the early start time. It makes it tougher for us dads. But this was, it was a pretty fun game. Very, very normal game for Kyrie. Very just 1 out of 82. Nothing special about this game at all. You could really see it when he had his first alley-oop dunk.
Can we trick him into telling that we're playing the Brooklyn Nets every night?
Yeah. Not only I think that was his first alley-oop dunk ever, I think I saw, but it was a one-handed tomahawk. Totally normal game. Kyrie definitely didn't have any extra emotion for this one. They might as well have been playing the Charlotte Hornets for all he knew, right?
For everybody that doesn't know what Josh is talking about, last night, and Brad Townsend knew what he was doing. So a lot of times what happens after games, beat reporters attempt to get some boilerplate type stuff out of players in an attempt to write a game story. That is, I don't want to necessarily say pushing a narrative, but they have an idea of what they're going to write around. Kyrie going back to Brooklyn is a story. Brad asked Kyrie a question and basically got a minute-long answer about how Kyrie's not there is nothing extra. He's excited to go back to Brooklyn, but there's nothing extra in the game. And I was just tired when I saw it, but he used a phrase that included the words normalize. And I sort of bristle at the concept of therapy speech and when we're talking about sports. Sports is fun. It's fine. It's not supposed to be super serious. And Kyrie got real serious while kind of being mad at Brad. It's a great answer. It's just a minute long of him being mad.
And it's not unique to Kyrie. All these guys.
No, but he really has been kind of quiet. He doesn't give the Mavs media has mostly left him alone. So for him to get confrontational, it just hasn't happened this year.
I know. And then it's just funny because he scores 20 points in the first half. It was
ass.
Yeah, it was very obvious that he cared about this game. So
look, as he's 31 years old. I don't expect him to bring the juice like this every night, but he was on fire in terms of just attacking, and the offense felt different with that.
Yeah. I mean, you want one of the best shooters ever to shoot a lot, right?
He passes up shots sometimes, and it's no, man, you're catching and shooting the three. Please keep shooting.
Yeah, it was probably, he took 10 3-pointer. What we were talking last night after the Philly game, he only took 3 3-pointers, although it was still fine. They scored well. They won.
Yep.
And he's averaging I think 7 per game, 3-point attempts. So we were that needs to be 8, 9, maybe even 10. And he had 10 tonight. And he made 6 of them because he's one of the best 3-point shooters ever in terms of percentage and degree of difficulty, spot up shooting. you name it. And yeah, he was awesome. He took a lot of shots and he made a lot of them. And the Mavericks won relatively. Like this was I mean, it wasn't a wire to wire game because Brooklyn made kind of jumped the game up a little bit in the first quarter, but the Mavericks took a lead with like 3 or 4 minutes left in the first quarter, and I think they led the rest of the game. And I don't think Brooklyn got it to it. They didn't get it to a one-shot game after that, so it was never really all that close. So
yeah, the Mavericks had like a 7-0 run to end the first quarter when it was tied at 24, and then they just never looked back.
Yep.
At one point leading in the 20 points again, which in some of my group chats that I'm in, Mavs are up by 20. Up. But this was just sort of one of those games, and I don't understand how Luka Doncic plays 43 minutes.
Yeah, this game was perfect because besides Kyrie being awesome and Luka being pretty awesome and them winning, this was like a 2023 Mavs game where it's like they won, but it feels like everyone is still kind of mad anyway. Because
which I like watching Luka play. I don't.
Yeah, I know. It's just funny because this was a pretty. There wasn't really anything like this went to script. Like Brooklyn is a bad team. The Mavericks are like, what are they? They play like They play like the '96 Bulls against under 500 teams this season. And they beat them. They led by double digits the whole game. So it's like there's nothing really here other than the guys that played well should have, and a bad team looked like a bad team. But then it's like, wait, Luka played 43 minutes in a game the Mavericks were like leading all game by double digits, and some guys came back down to earth, and it's like, well, where did Derrick Jones Jr. go? And Grant Williams had more turnovers than made shots, and it's like just enough little things happened for people to come away from this game mad because somebody has to be mad after a game. So it's just funny. Like I'm not mad. I just think it felt like people were starting to get frustrated in the fourth quarter.
I'm glad it wasn't a factor in the game, but the refs were big time garbage. Big time garbage. The Mavs only shot 13 free throws as a team. They averaged 23.7 per game, which is tied for 8th in the league. And there
were just two players shot free throws, Luka and Tim Hardaway.
There were just some flat out bad calls. Like that bald ref, who I think his name is Mark Davis, miscalled a continuation that was the most clear-cut example of continuation that we get. Like even Stan Van Gundy, who, kind of seems to shy, he's just a kind of chronic complainer, but he's just like, that's an obvious continuation. What are we doing here? The Mavericks could have made this a lot worse. Things got a little junky.
Yeah.
Who was
Brooklyn
it?
Tossed in some threes in the fourth quarter.
Yep, Nick Claxton ate Luka's lunch a few times on some very
5 blocks.
Wow. Yeah, he's a pretty impressive player. It's going to be one of these things where you can look into like elements of this game and overthink it, but I just can't emphasize enough how much these guys are just trying to make it to All-Star break.
Yeah, especially on second night of a back-to-back.
Yeah, I mean, we've had our eyes on this portion of the schedule for a month, and Embiid getting hurt. They play. Then who do we play next game?
New York Knicks.
You play.
Are you a little scared that Luka is in New York City for like 3 nights, basically?
Good point. Because they probably go there, and they're there tonight. They're there. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they're not going anywhere.
Maybe he gets whatever time out of his system now. But you're looking at this stretch, and when we're kind of looking at it in advance, where everybody had sort of there's a low key panic that was justified based on how they played in January, that the Mavericks could head into All-Star break under 500. They still have 4 games left. So it's, they played New York, Oklahoma, Washington, San Antonio. But even if they go on a 4-game losing streak, they're still above 500.
Yep.
And this win was nice. This was you don't want to call it but you're essentially padding your win totals. And that's the sort of thing that felt, just pretty good. I struggle to really take anything away from this game that we haven't already, discussed in previous nights. I suppose we should come back when let me take our quick little break. But I really wanted to. I think we should talk about the Josh Green of it all. I think we should sort of talk, circle back to more trade stuff because I don't think we're going to have, unless the Mavericks make another trade, this will be or make a trade, which maybe they will. This will be the last time you guys hear from us until that Thursday night game against New York. So, all right. So while you're here, guys, we've got about 200 folks in here. Welcome to the show. If you could hit the like down there at the bottom, Josh and I would appreciate that on the stream. If you're down there as well, if you'd consider subscribing. Earlier in the year, I set kind of an asinine figure of what I had hoped for us to our subscriber base to be by the end of the year. We're not going to get to 5,000, but I just kind of picked the number out of the sky. We are pretty close to 2,500, which is fun. So if you could hit that subscribe button, I'd appreciate it. If you're an audio only listener, do me a favor, leave us a review, 5 stars. Shoot me an email if you really want to talk some Mavs basketball. And while you're here on the live stream, guys, if you could leave a comment on the video when it's done, Josh and I would appreciate it. I've gotten some heads up from a few international fans that sometimes our ads don't always post. All I can do is post the ads into the stream. At that point, it is not something I'm in charge of. I do let my bosses know, and I appreciate.
Yeah, that might be like a legal thing.
Yeah, I just appreciate people not fast forwarding through them because we get paid by every ad impression, and somehow they're able to tell when you fast forward through ads. So I'm going to insert those ads right now. Then Josh and I will be right back. And we are back after 5 seconds, but maybe longer for audio people. So what else do you think we should talk about, Josh?
Do you want to, I guess, you talked about the UTs before we went into the break, so it would only be right that we kind of follow up on UTs like good podcasters that we are.
Sure.
We wanted to talk about the Josh Green of it all, which will probably lead into some trade talk. I thought Green played a pretty good game, like nothing crazy. Defensively, he was a little bit better, but it also helps that Brooklyn just does not have any real credible off the dribble threats that they've got a lot of their roster is weird where they've got a lot of good players, but like they don't really have a good point guard. They've got Spencer Dinwiddie, who has morphed back into Washington Dinwiddie, Cam Thomas, who is not a point guard. He was a shooter in a point guard's body. And then Dennis Smith Jr. comes off the bench and he actually plays pretty well for them, but he's just a backup. So
right.
They got like Bridges and Claxton and Ben Simmons, I guess, is kind of their like de facto point guard. And they got Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson. And it's like all these play finishers and not really too many play starters.
Yeah.
So there wasn't as many opportunities for Josh Green to get slammed in the side by a screen because there's not as much screen navigation when you're playing a team like Brooklyn that doesn't really have an offensive identity really. So, he didn't score a ton of points. He 2 of 5 from 3, 12 points, which is his lowest scoring game in like the last 3 games. But it's just interesting because he's rumored to, there's some trades out there for the Mavericks because they want to upgrade their forward depth. And it's just, how much do you feel of what Green is doing in the last, I don't know, maybe call it a week or two? Real? How much is that projectable? And then if it is, like, you look at the Mavericks roster and it's like, Green is a guard. He's playing with Luka and Kyrie, and he's playing some 3 and some 4 out of necessity. But I think everyone knows that his best position is as a guard, preferably maybe like an off guard next to a point guard so he can get as much touches as possible because that seems to really elevate his game. So you have Luka and Kyrie as your entrenched starters. They're not going anywhere. Dante Exum is here for at least one more season because they have a team option for him next year. So unless something crazy happens, he's back. You've got Jaden Hardy. Seth Curry doesn't even play, but he exists. And it's like, obviously Green should be playing over a lot of these guys, but when Luka and Kyrie is your starting backcourt when healthy, what is the ceiling for Green? Do you see him as like the starter as a 3? Because if so, you're awfully small. Like Luka, you're making Luka be your second tallest player on the floor if Green is your starter. So does it make sense to sell while his value is pretty high, get in a Kyle Kuzma, PJ Washington, a more traditional, not necessarily traditional, but a more well-suited forward that can play the four consistently. And I think that's a lot. That's kind of the debate, I think, raging within probably not only the Mavs fandom, but the Dallas front office as well. Because
Right.
they don't have a lot of young talent, and you don't want to trade Green and watch him blow up in Charlotte.
But what does blow up mean? Like,
Yeah,
there was this really funny discussion on the Mismatch, which is the Kevin O'Connor podcast over there at the Ringer with what's his name, Chris Vernon, and they somehow like stumbled back into the Luka Kyrie conversation, or not Luka Kyrie, Luka Brunson conversation again. And they were talking about whether it's, a mischance for, Dallas leaving, letting Brunson walk. Was it a mistake? Yada, yada. And one of the two of them essentially said, it's like, Brunson wouldn't be able, it's really great that Brunson's putting up these great scoring nights for New York. He's put up 40 points the other night. And the other person answered, well, yeah, Luka put up 70. So it's not like you're choosing between the two of them because Luka is the better player, full stop. And so I've been thinking about that whenever we talk about other guys in this lineup, because it's a question. And Rob Mahoney wrote about this today for the Ringer. If you haven't gone to check that out, it's a really lengthy piece. You build around Luka, you build around your stars. And if your peripheral players don't fit, you move along. This is really hard for some people, particularly on the internet, who have I'm irrationally attached to Tim Hardaway, but if they can get better by sending Tim Hardaway away, do it. And there's just segments of the fan base that get super attached to specific players. And it's like, Luka is the generational superstar. Everybody else is secondary. That includes Kyrie. This isn't that complicated. So is he a fine backup guard? Sure. I'm glad that more and more people are at least agreeing that he's a guard. That's something that's important to me. So there's this guy on Twitter. His name is Skyfall. It's at Polarfall. He is an NBA draft analysis. I'm pretty sure he is South Korean and English is his second language, but he has been a hell of a basketball evaluator for a while. He had a series of tweets on Josh Green the other night that I want to read out loud. He says, Josh Green is a tough type to evaluate on defense. He's very good at one-on-one chasing or ball pressing. He's very poor at every screen. He dies on simple on and off screens all the time. He stunt and nail digging is good when there's no pick. So it's kind of the center of the floor type stuff. Doesn't know when and where to go with switches. He one of the worst rim protection block player when you consider his superior athleticism. I call it Harrison Barnes syndrome. His career block total is 27, not in a single year, 27 blocks in 207 games. He is not a point of attack defender, but he is a good team defender. So as a result, I think his defense is not a fit with the Mavericks. And that's sort of something that I come back to. Like Jay says, Green is a defensive-minded wing. He's just not. He's not good at defense. Like wings are Kevin Durant or Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. Like Josh Green is a small guard. He is 6'4". Anybody that says differently just doesn't know how heights work. Go look at how he pairs up against a normal sized NBA super normal size, like a superstar wing.
Yeah. I think his archetype, like he should be a defense first player. I mean, that's why he was drafted. Was he
so insanely funny?
I mean, but like we're in year 4 and he has not made the defensive strides that you would hope. He has gotten a little bit better in one-on-one situations to where he was in his rookie year. I think he is a good, when they want to do like a full, like I wrote about this when the Mavericks beat the Knicks, when they sick him on a lead guard full court, like that can be a pretty valuable weapon. Like
Australia used him with that. He was great at that.
He's able to gunk it up. But then in the half court, like the way that he's able to be taken out of the game defensively, like so easily with screens and off ball navigation, that's the stuff that like, obviously young players, that's probably one of the hardest things defensively for young players to learn is how to navigate screens and how to navigate off-ball actions, because these guys are not seeing that in college or wherever they came from, usually before they get to the NBA. Like the level of screening and off-ball action in the NBA is just it's not even close to college basketball. He saw nothing like this in Arizona, like guys setting legitimate screens and stuff like that. So that's tough to learn. But we're in year 4, and I feel like if anything, he's regressing defensively. Like it feels like I'm not seeing that step up. Offensively, he's maybe developed better than any player I've seen in my life.
Which is why he's still playing a ton. Like his offense is why he's actually staying on the floor, which is just weird.
He went from a guy his rookie year that I didn't know knew how to play, like put the basketball in the hoop, and now he's maybe one of the most efficient role players in the NBA. Like he had a 64.5% true shooting percentage last season, which is outrageous for a guy on the perimeter. Like that's not just a dunk, not like a rim diving dunker. And he's right on the precipice of another 60 plus true shooting percentage season. Like to do that within like 4 years of development is really impressive. But the Mavericks have had a great offense for a while. They've had a terrible defense, an average or below average defense, basically every year of the Luka era, except for the 1 year they went to the Western Conference Finals. So it's like, how do you get that top 10 defense? Obviously, you would like Green to develop into that, but we're in year 4 now, and I'm just not seeing it. So, but it's one of those things where it's not necessarily like, okay, they have to ship him out.
No.
Of this. No, if they don't trade Josh Green this week, that doesn't really matter.
Like if they don't make a move, I think I'm kind of okay.
But it comes back to the other side where it's like if they do, like let's say they do feel like they can trade him for PJ Washington.
Sure.
It's not like, what are they doing? Like they just gave away a cornerstone. Like it's also not that level. Like it's the Mavericks have a ton of guards. Luka and Kyrie are going to start. They're going to be guards. Preferably, Green's best position is probably the 2. You don't have any credible 4s right now besides maybe Maxey, who's finally kind of shown some life. But Grant Williams has been a disaster. You need some forwards. You need some better, bigger wings. So if they feel like we've got the surplus of guards, let's balance the roster and bring in a PJ Washington or a Kyle Kuzma to have a better balanced lineup. I don't think that's
And if you don't like PJ, I kind of get it.
Yeah, I get that too. He's not a player he's not a perfect player either. So again, that's why it's like I don't really see a problem with them going either direction at the trade deadline. Like
the Mavs are just like it's hard to kind of discuss in a rational way because again, I say this most nights. If you're primarily a Mavericks fan watcher, you don't realize how small they are until they get destroyed by a huge team. And then you kind of go through the lineup and you look at everybody and look, guys, I know what the dang NBA.com thing says. I also know how tall I am. And I also know I've stood next to these players. Like Grant Williams is 6'4". Josh Green is also 6'4". Just watch them stand next to each other. Kyrie is 6'1". Luka Doncic should not be your team's second biggest guy on the floor all the time. At least that's what they're building towards.
And that's what they're saying. They're saying that too.
They're saying that.
They want defense, rebounding, and size.
That was one of the things that was in Rob Mahoney's piece today. And his doc wrote about it last year. It's like it's just a big size thing. So it's not an indictment of the player because I mean, hell.
For him to be where he's at right now compared to his rookie season.
I wanted Josh Green sent to the moon. And so the fact that he's a useful rotation player is a win.
Yeah.
It is such an important win. And if they don't move him, if he's on the team, I really don't think I'm going to be bothered by it. I'm still going to get mad at him, but it's not like I want him shipped out. Like Grant Williams, straight to jail. Enough with Grant Williams. Go away.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. If they feel like they can upgrade their 3 or 4 spot without trading a draft pick, and that involves Josh Green, like at a certain point, if you don't want them to make a trade, like if you're just like, no, this guy, I only want them to trade him for like a real like star, then that's a discussion. Like that's the end of the discussion. Okay, fine. That's how you feel. I'm not going to change your mind. But if you want them to make a trade, but then it's like, oh, well, don't include Josh Green. Like you have to trade something to get something. Yeah. Like you're not going to get PJ Washington.
Oh, we're not
Rashawn Holmes and Seth Curry and second round picks. Like you just have to give up something to get something. So if you don't want them to trade him, I understand that viewpoint entirely. But if you do want them to make a move, but you're also like, but it can't be Josh or it can't be Jaden Hardy. It's like, you gotta think about, You got to give the other team something too.
I mean, this has been 2 games in a row where Tim Hardaway has been removed when things were going sideways, and then the Mavericks pull it out. And I have been a Tim Hardaway super fan.
Do you have conspiracy theories on he thinks there's something going on that we don't know?
No, I just sort of think that like I've seen I've seen a series of games without Tim mattering, and because Kyrie's back, that's the big draw there. Now I'm like, okay, if they move on from Tim, I get it.
You're okay now.
Yeah.
Have you made peace? Well, and it also helps that Green's hitting 40%. Like, if Green's going to keep hitting his threes, that also helps. Like, Lord help them if Green goes into another, stretch where he's or Maxey also. Because Derek Jones Jr. has kind of turned into a pumpkin very, very quietly. But that's okay. That's not really his fault.
This is a good comment from Che in the chat. Josh doesn't have help along the perimeter until Kyrie, who rotates when Josh's screens come back. Let's be realistic. Josh has to overcompensate when he's on the floor with 4 non-defenders. I mean, 4 non-defenders is a little harsh because, Lively's out there too. Derek Jones, pretty good defender. I think that is a fair point, but that's also the criticism that I'm leveling where it's like the Mavericks really do need like a true superstar wing defender. They need a guy that can really go out and lock someone down, and they just haven't had anyone in a long time. Dorian was a great chaos defender who was great off ball, who they used in point of attack situations, and he became fried chicken every time. Like, granted, it's hard for me to get too mad at him about not being able to guard Dame Lillard, but those are the kind of guys you've got to guard, and you just got to get lucky. And I don't know where they get lucky, but that's where I sort of settle back into the trade discussion where I'm like, I don't want to give away a draft pick for a player who doesn't move the needle. And my friend Brian kind of accused me today. He's like, you don't like any of these players. I'm like, you know what? I'd be fine with PJ Washington. I'd be fine with the guy from the Bucks. I don't know if that does anything to alleviate the big picture problems. Like, do they go from being a set? What are they right now? 8 seed, 7 seed? You'd think I'd know this. We run a Mavs site. It's not like they're moving out of the play-in with one of these trades, I don't think.
You don't think they're moving out of the play-in?
No, I think no matter what they do, they're stuck in that 7 to 10 range. 1 through 4 is locked at this point. You're not getting into the top 4. And I think they would require
New Orleans
luck.
and Phoenix are playing really well. Maybe you catch Sacramento, who's been kind of weird.
But Sacramento owns the Mavericks. It's the styles make fights thing. So it's tough for me. So it's like any sort of coin flip thing. They've won all those tiebreaker stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's I think whatever trade. I mean, the nice thing about the players they're targeting is, one, it seems like they're targeting at least the right player. Like they're not targeting small guards or something. I feel like Kirk, I don't know if this guy, I know we got a Josh Green super fan of the chat, but
no, this is like, it's interesting analysis. He's not like throwing it. Just like I sort of come with most NBA stuff where I'm just like, if you can't navigate a screen, I can't help you.
Yeah, there's 2 parts of guarding a screen. Not trying to deny that his pick and roll defensive partner is also not always doing his job, but there's plenty of tape of Green just like
we're pretty sure
you can't trail the ball handler by like 5 feet after
I am also fairly certain that Josh hurts his elbow because he leads into screens like he thinks he's Derrick Henry.
Yeah. So, but what I was going to say is at least, they seem to be targeting the right position because they need forwards, they need wings, they need players that can play the 4.
Yeah.
Which both Kuzma and Washington can. And also they're targeting guys that are close enough to the Luka timeline because Washington's 25. Kuzma's a little older, 28, but when Kyrie's 31, it's not too bad. And those guys are on multi-year deals, so you're not worried about losing them anytime soon. And they're on relatively good contracts. Like Washington is pretty cheap for what he is. People might think he's overpaid a little bit considering his production this year in Charlotte, which it's fine, but his contract's not that bad. It's not that much bigger than Grant Williams. Let's just say that.
Yep.
And then Kuzma's contract is pretty good. Like it declines every year. So like, I don't know if they're going to get these guys and you don't give brownie points for, well, we didn't make a trade, but we wanted these guys. Like, that's kind of fake. But at the very least, they seem to have the right idea of the player they want. I also thought that when they got Grant Williams. So we'll see what they do. But yeah, I think me and you are both in agreement that we're pretty much okay with almost any trade they make as long as it doesn't involve the first that they can give this year.
Which the chatter, which is so stupid. Like we'll think about this stuff in a week, and so much of this is just like it's just such a waste of oxygen because it's either much ado about nothing or they'll make a single move. At least with the Kyrie thing, that seemed to be sort of telegraphed to us. I mean, you head on over to MavsMoneyball.com today, and I'm just gonna share our screen real quick. We did. You know what? Am I going to share the screen? Yeah, I'm going to share my entire screen. If you head on over to Mavs Moneyball, we got a whole bunch of stuff going on over there today. We had CBA Mavs, everybody's friend Scott. He wrote a nice explainer. What draft picks can the Mavericks trade? I also bumped up his post trying to explain what it would take for the Mavericks to trade Josh Green because he's essentially a poison pill contract. Though I feel like that's a little bit of a misnomer because his contract is a certain way on purpose. Then we got a poll up that I would like you guys to go take if you want. That's basically around. It's got 3 questions around the trade deadline, and I would like to get this chat and anybody listening to the podcast's opinion on it. It takes like 30 seconds to go click through the questions. Our guy Ben wrote a piece making the argument that the Mavericks shouldn't make any trade at the deadline. And then one of the many Matts that writes at Mavs Moneyball wrote a piece that the Mavericks should hold on to Josh Green, makes a strong argument for that. What else did we have? Then we had, Xavier, our guy Xavier, normally known for sort of throwing bombs at the face of Mavs fans, wrote a very interesting case for Andrew Wiggins. It makes me angry because I hate Andrew Wiggins, like kind of religiously, but convincing article, which is, Xavier tends to throw bombs. So the fact that he was able to sway, at least make me go, is something. So, what else, man? Is there anything else we want to touch on, or should we just sort of, kind of wrap this one up and I'll head on to our second live show?
Yeah, we could probably wrap this thing up. I don't know. There wasn't anything tactically I thought was particularly interesting. I think the minutes thing with Luka was pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
I don't want to end on the podcast on a downer note, but that was bad. Like they were up. I think they were up 20 to enter the fourth quarter. I don't understand how you don't get Luka. He played the entire second half. Like I don't understand how you don't give him a 3 to 4 minute break. He is now 42 minutes or more in 5 of the last 6 games.
Yeah.
And Kyrie's back. Like, how do you not let him sit the first 3 to 4 minutes like Kyrie, Cook, who's playing spectacularly? Like, and by the way, they lost the lead anyway with Luka on the floor. Like, nothing would have materially changed about this outcome of this game if you sat Luka 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. It's bad. That's bad.
The secret Luka criticism is the plus minus. Yeah, and the lead was only cut to 6, but the Luka on off numbers. Like that's the criticism of his if you don't like him as a player, that's where you start with the Luka criticism is the on-off numbers. And the Mavericks are weird shit happens sometimes with him on and off the floor. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's Kid. I don't know if it's the rotations. It deserves a longer look, and I'm not smart enough for it. I'm just going to say, the easy out is to blame Kid. As much as I like to do that, I'm not sure if I can in this circumstance because I also think there's something to Luka basically saying, I'm going to play. Like he told Kid the other night, I can play all 45, 48 minutes. Like he likes to play. Kid needs to protect him from himself.
Yeah, I mean, if that's where we're at, then there's.
Well, of course, that's where we're at. The guy went on local radio and was like, who's a lot like Jesus Christ and Gandhi? Luka Doncic.
I know, but that means
he's embarrassing.
This is less like in-game decision-making stuff and like foundational organizational problems. So I guess we can't talk about that tonight.
I mean, we can, but we've just been talking about it for years, and it's it's. I wrote it in my piece the other night. Like, there's a little. I don't want to call it organizational rot. That feels a bit mean for a team that.
That's what I was thinking in my head.
But it's akin to that in that there's just a culture of excuse making horseshit that goes on with the Mavericks, and not a culture of excellence, and it drives me nuts. That's all. They'll still continue to win games because Luka is that good and Kyrie is that good. But, failing up is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Oh, do you want a fun Grant Williams stat?
I absolutely want a fun Grant Williams stat.
So he's at 7, 8, 9, 10. He has 10 turnovers in the last 5 games. And in those 5 games, he has 8 made field goals. So, which is great. Like, I don't know how he has so many turnovers because he's purely
like that pass he made tonight in the fourth quarter. Like, the
turnovers are killer, man.
This is largely because I have a 7-year-old who I'm trying to teach basketball stuff to. But I had an assistant basketball coach who used to scream at me all the time in high school. He's a groundskeeper for the Texas Rangers now. His name's Pat Hernandez. Shout out, Pat. Shout out, Coach Hernandez. And he used to yell at me in his thick country accent, know when to go and know when to whoa. And I think about that time every time Grant Williams does something because he's inhabited he has inherited the Josh Green oh shit thing when he dribbles and when he goes places because he always looks like he's about to fall down. Josh Green used to do that before he figured out his speed was a weapon. And Grant is just a stumbling, bumbling, rumbling idiot, and I can't handle him anymore.
Yeah, that's tough. Anyway, Mavs win, so good game. Yeah, I guess that's about it.
All right.
Next game will be fun.
It will be fun. 6:32. We love that. Then they play at 2:00 on Saturday. Don't know what.
Whoa,
don't know.
okay.
This is amazing. This early stuff is. Look how chipper and happy I am.
I
all right, so guys, you want to hang around here? I'm going to turn on our second post-game show where you can come hang out, argue basketball with me if you want. Hopefully, Brian will join us again to start the show. But obviously, we got tons of people that seem to want to talk. My guy, this guy Jordan, who used to join the old other post-game shows that I ran on Green Room or whatever the hell it's called. He sent me a message, said he wants to join tonight. So we will we will have fun. Please hang out. And let's see here. Nothing else other than check Mavs Moneyball as much as possible. But Josh, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Any last comments?
No, you guys have fun tonight.
All right, we'll be right back here. I'm going to press this button thing, and then for those listening on the audio feed, if it's a long enough show, I will do it in a separate podcast, which will go up on Wednesday daytime. Everybody else, hold tight. Hello, Mavs fans and NBA fans, potential enemies, etc. I am Kirk Henderson. Welcome to the second straight edition of Mavs Party. For those of you who are new to the concept, what we have here is a live show where you can join. If you are in the YouTube comments, you can click on the stream. You can come up here and talk with me. If you don't want to show your video, you don't have to. I'm not that professional, though I would like to see everybody's smiling faces. It always occurs to me during this show that I forget to comb my hair and stuff, but whatever. My youngest child has RSV, and my wife and I are trying not to fight and argue because we're both really tired. Kid's fine though. He'll be fine. But please come and join the show. This is fun to talk basketball with you guys. Let me see if there's anything we need to kind of cover before we head back into the discussion here. The Dallas Mavericks beat the Brooklyn Nets 119-107. That is right in line with their season scoring average. They're putting up a ton of points. Luka had a near triple double, and then it was just a really good way to kind of kick off the rest of my work week here with only we got 4 games left till the All-Star break. So we got 3 folks waiting to talk already. We got Jordan, who I'm going to bring up first, then Karam, and then Brian, who Brian has been keeping, holding it down for me lately as the lone regular contributor. So I hope he doesn't mind that I'm bringing him on second. But all right, we're going to bring Jordan up, and I'm really wondering if Jordan is calling in from Africa like he used to last year. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, so I'm not in Africa right now.
But, congrats on being in a time zone where this feels normal to do.
Right. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be awake if we were in Africa right now. So, yeah. So my main thing, there's been all this Josh Green discourse, and I understand that I'm like a big fan of Josh Green.
Sure.
But what I see a lot is like, well, we would rebalance the roster if we trade Josh Green for PJ Washington. So I understand that from like a numbers standpoint, we would rebalance the roster by switching a guard for a forward. But we only have 3 good guards. And so if
you're not a Jaden Hardy super fan?
I am not a Jaden Hardy super fan.
Wait, do you consider Dante Exum a good guard, or are you putting him in a different bucket because he's not healthy?
Yeah, I do, like, Exum's like, so he's Australian, right? So he's like a Tasmanian tiger. He may or may not exist. So that's,
he's going from foot issues to knee bursitis is a little alarming. We don't talk about that enough.
When he plays, that would be like, if I had any faith that Exum was going to play, I'd be much more on board to trade Josh for PJ. It's just like, if we don't have Josh, then all of a sudden we go from the team that already has basically the least amount of secondary creation in the league to even less. And, we keep talking about, well, Luka needs to have help from teammates. And so we're trading for a teammate that's going to give him even less help. It seems like not actually balancing the roster. Now, if we were trading even Hardy, like I think Hardy can get there eventually, but he's like not this year. Like we're talking about, I think Hardy might even be like a 2 or 3 years thing. And I've always viewed Hardy as more of a Tim Hardaway Jr. type of guard than a Josh Green. You're muted. Kirk, you're muted.
Man, I was just muted the whole time.
I was just trying to figure out how to, I was like,
no, man. Sorry, guys. Man, just great podcast. So let me just start over from the beginning. So I was just rambling. I was like looking up at my light as I was talking. The Josh Green situation is very interesting because he has really come 180 degrees from where we drafted him to where he is now. He signed a great deal in the offseason, really great deal in the offseason, cheaper than what a lot of pundits expected. Sam Viceni thought he was going to get closer to $20 million a year particularly if he would have gone into restricted. And I think that one of the things you can see right now, I mean, he's played it. It's really wild because he's had a good season, but it's been on a like he started out kind of and then he got hurt. Then he came back and played well. In the last 4 games, you would put in his highlight reel for the season. Like the Mavs are over 50 games now. What is it? 52? Maybe it's something like that. 51. But this is in his top 5. The last 4 games have been in his top 5 of the year, I think. And so ascertaining his value, right, like in kind of a fair way near the trade deadline feels insane, because I think if the Dallas Mavericks were to move him, it would actually cause everyone to freak out because he has played so well and we're all like kind of prisoners of the moment. That said, I do, like, from a philosophical team building point of view, you got to get to give. And Tim Hardaway's value, I have no idea what it is, other than the fact that his salary is declining. Jaden Hardy doesn't have value. It's fine. Omac's first round pick. They're not going to move him to not enough money. Grant Williams is untradeable, I think. Even though I did find the Mark Stein swap with Milwaukee potentially very interesting just because it felt like a distressed asset swap. But I'm not. I've been sort of sitting here for a while for the better part of trade season. You can really see this with the way Mavs Moneyball covers stuff. We just haven't talked about it because number one, I'm not that good at it, but number two, I just haven't been very interested. And friend of the program, Dalton Trigg, losing his mind because he was like, "What?" Like, because he loves trade stuff, and it's if they don't do anything, I think I'm going to be. Not only am I'm not going to be mad. I mean, if anything, I'm going to say this is a team they built, and they want to see what they can do. I don't know. Am I off?
No, I don't think you're off. And I would point out my fear of trading Josh is I don't know if you remember before the Kyrie trade, where it was just we only had Spencer and Luka. Those were the only ball handlers on the team.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through that again.
Sure.
So we've seen that play. It did not work. It was not fun. But if you want to trade Josh for someone else who can handle the ball, or if you have another trade lined up for a ball handler, I'm more inclined to trade Josh. But just the straight up Josh for PJ swap, to me, I don't think it actually balances the roster like people are saying.
I can see that. I don't, compared to what the talk was around him this summer, I just can't imagine. I have a hard time grasping that it's even a thing because he was a restricted free agent, kind of like the last man standing on the signing. The only reason I think they would get rid of him if they're looking to do a full teardown, which I'm not reporting anything, but I'm parts of like lots of different group chats, and like it seems like the Clippers are very interested, and
the Knicks, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I'm just like it's going to be very interesting to see where he goose. What else you thinking?
I don't think we have the ammo really to get PJ, and that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think we're going to make a huge trade, just because we don't have the ammo. But I do think, we keep talking about everything gets better in the offseason. We get Tim's expiring.
Oh, this offseason. I thought generally.
No.
I'm still harmed from Jalen Brunson.
Yeah. I hate to be like, playing powder, but it might be a playing powder kind of year. Like we might have to. Because if we can make it to the offseason, then things get better dramatically for the future. But like right now, I just don't see how unbalancing a roster the other direction actually does anything, because all we're doing is just trading one weakness for another in that trade.
Well, Jordan, it's got to be at least a year since you came on here.
Yeah, pretty close to it.
Man, I'm grateful you took part of your night to hang out with us. Yeah,
we'll try to keep doing this a little bit more often.
All right, man. We'll talk soon. Have a good one.
Sounds good.
All right, you can follow Jordan at Hoop Social Draft on Twitter. Good guy. Chatted with him for a real long time, several years now. Coming up next is Karam joining us once again. It's been a while. Welcome back.
It has. Thank you. Sorry if I'm a little distracted. I'm playing Street Fighter 6 right now.
That's at
the same time.
Look, that's a pretty. I wish I was playing video games. Not gonna lie to
you. Two questions. One is, do you think we will be making a trade?
No.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
So you think we're going to sit pat?
I don't know if the Mavericks have the assets to acquire anybody. History says I'm wrong because they've done something for the seven straight years. But I think that there's enough argument to be made that when healthy, this team is good. And it's very hard to say, all right, well, we just need to go fix a problem that's caused by injury luck. And I hear what the chat's saying. There's a lot of, Dante Exum, not great. There's just some challenging things going on with the roster construction right now, but I'm just of the opinion that I don't think they should give up anything long-term. Like if they already give up the first round pick the only one that they can trade at the moment, and CBA Mavs explains how they can trade more, but it's like, this is the easiest one to do. I think it's the 2027 one. I would just lose my mind. I would lose my mind. That's how you make big trades later. And I hear the argument, which is, well, what if there's more players available this summer? Or what if there's not? And I'm like, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
So from my understanding is we can trade the 2027, you're right. But if we don't make a trade using the 2027, it turns into 3 first-round picks leading into the summer.
Yeah, like because you open stuff up once you get out from the Knicks obligation.
Correct.
So,
but I think even if everyone is healthy, I don't think the Mavericks are good enough because they do have glaring holes. And there is inconsistency with Josh Green and, Tim Hardaway Jr. is a dumpster fire. If he's not making his threes, he is useless. And you need that consistency if you're trying to make a long run in the playoffs, including the defense, right?
yeah.
So I was looking at the 3 names that we've been kind of linked to: Kyle Kuzma, PJ Washington, and I think, who was it, Wiggins?
There's Andrew Wiggins too, yeah.
And so I just want to do like a little rough draft of Josh Green's stats right now. He's averaging in how many minutes? In 27 minutes, almost 9 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and about 48% from 3. No,
He's
sorry,
shooting
40%.
really well. He just doesn't do
40% from
enough
3.
of the things. Yeah.
No. But then if we go to PJ Washington, he's averaging 14 points for about 2 minutes more. He's averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists, and a steal, and almost a block a game.
Yeah, he's got really big arms. He's got a 7'2" wingspan, and he's only 6'7", so that's a plus 7 relative to his height. So that's where it's a lot of people are very interested just from the measurables aspect, but I don't know how much he actually would help the Mavericks on defense.
But I think,
I
think the player that we should get that I think might be the most, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe if you give the first round pick, is Kyle Kuzma. We need someone who can make their own shots, dribble, while Luka or Kyrie are sitting, right? Or if one of them is sitting, someone who's able to make their own shots without being assisted. And Kyle Kuzma right now with the Wizards is averaging almost 22 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4.3 assists, shooting about 52% from 2-point range and about 33% from 3.
He's a rough, like the Kuzma argument is he's a rough 3-point shooter. If you're not a Kuzma guy, but everything else he brings is pretty helpful to what the Mavericks need. It's just,
and he's a
can you hit the
defender.
open 3? Yeah.
I don't know. I think if you're in my, and I don't want to hold you up anymore or anyone else, but I sincerely think if the Mavs are trying to go through, Luka's timeline and hoping to win a championship with the Luka-Kyrie pairing, and with Kyrie always being injured and him playing is not always guaranteed,
sure,
you want to be able to have someone who can take over if one of them does, need some time away sitting down, because it can't just be Luka, right? You can't have Luka playing all these games, all these minutes, all the time. By the time the playoffs come, he's going to be worn down. And I think with our glaring hole with our backup center too, I think we need some type of trade. And my last point is, did someone go up to Maxi Kleber and give him some steroids or human growth hormone or something?
So I had some theories on last night's show. The running joke
baby hooks? Where the
running joke for years is that he plays his best when he has a girlfriend. Like,
does he have a girlfriend?
I don't know, but that's what investigators around Dallas get at me. Let me know what you know, but I mean, he really is like. He was doing some stuff last night and the night before, like off the dribble shots. Like, what is happening? And he didn't do great tonight. But the Mavericks,
maybe they give him a new toe.
Him being useful helps. Like, he doesn't have to be amazing. He just can't be a non-contributing zero. That's the real challenge.
And maybe he got a new toe. Whatever happened to the old one, he might have gotten a new one.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. We'll
because
see,
he
man.
hurt his toe for what and a mystery.
Dislocated toe sounds so gross.
It does, but like
that's like did you walk and like clip it on the edge of a bed? I mean, it happened in a game. Like we know that it was I can't remember which
his
game
toe
it
must
was.
have bent some
Yeah,
way.
like real.
Okay, well I'll let you go. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, of course. Come back anytime. Have a good night. All right.
Oh yes, one last thing. I'm so sorry. Do you know when is the actual deadline? Is it tomorrow?
Thursday at like 2 p.m. our time. Sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
Cool.
right.
Have a good one. Thank you.
You too. Okay, I'm going to take a minute, ask everybody that's still in here to consider going and liking the stream. That would be very helpful to Josh and myself. Consider subscribing to Pod Maverick while you're down there. Everybody who is listening on the audio version of the show, I will probably do an ad insertion right now. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we will be right back. All right, coming up now is my man Brian, who has been waiting patiently, and he's our boots in the ground. You're my most loyal listener to this point. So, Brian, what's up tonight?
Man, I'm just happy to get a win. First time we've had consecutive wins, I think, since like early January.
It was the Portland, and then the Wolves.
Yeah, the Stink Bowl. So very nice to get 2 wins, going right to the trade deadline. If I could, for just a moment, I'd like to take a second to shout out to Jordan and Karan, by the way, but I'd like to take a second to push back on Jordan just a little bit on his argument about a Josh for PJ trade, like not balancing out the roster necessarily.
Yeah.
I would understand if the angle that he took was that swapping Josh for PJ straight up would leave us a bit weak as far as like perimeter shooting, but just like roster balance, no, I think it dead is a pretty balancing move because, you know, you're saying that we have like maybe 3 good guards outside of what we got Luka, Kyrie, right now, Josh, Tim. I'm gonna count Exum.
Sure, I would
he
too.
needs to get back on the court, but when he's on the court, he's very clearly useful. Like even when he was limited, the first time he came back a few days ago or whatever, he was still helping the team. At least in the first game. The second game, not so much, but he didn't play that much. Whereas if we start trying to count forwards, there is Maxey.
Mm-hmm. Real bad, bleak.
Like, I mean, look, man. At some point, 1 + 1 has got to be 2. Like, I feel you. I love Josh. I would like to keep Josh around. If there were a way to swing PJ without moving him, then of course I'd love to do that. But you got to face facts, bro. You got to give to get. And we have dudes who can slot in and be, again, the backup 2, because we're talking about him playing the backup 2. He's not a 3. Kyrie is our 2 as long as he's here. So we're talking about a backup role at the end of the day that we're doing all this sweating and humming and hawing over. Whereas we need help at 3 and 4, like as far as our starters right now.
Yeah.
Where I think PJ helped us specifically defensively, because like get into the offensive stuff, that's like I think that he's a good corner shooter. He's been a good shooter over the course of his career. He's having a down year now. I'm not sweating that. He can put the ball on the floor. He can help us out there a little bit and not look like a complete clutch doing it the way that Grant does. But defensively, like you mentioned his wingspan before, he's 6'7", 6'8", 7'2.5" wingspan. Imagine that sliding over as the help defender to just jump up and throw his arm straight up in the air and try and deter a shot, as opposed to Grant, who is 6'5" with a barely plus wingspan and getting 3 inches off the ground. Like, I'm sorry, that does not. And also, I don't think the deal will be Josh for PJ straight up. I think Grant will be going to that deal, and we'd be looking to get some other contract. Maybe we take bad money and just like don't send a pick. Maybe we try and get Nick Richards and we send a second or 2 along
That's
with.
That's what Mavs Moneyball chat was saying. Where is Nick Richards the Arkansas guy, or am I misremembering that?
I believe so. Yeah.
The guy who was like, he's just a straight up gunner. Like we need another one of those.
Oh no. You're thinking of the guard. I'm talking about the center, Nick Richards, the backup center.
Nick Richards sounds like.
I think you're thinking of Nick. Is that Nick Williams?
Oh, Nick Richards sounds like an Arnold Schwarzenegger character from a 1980s movie. Like this is not really. It's not a real person. You're not going to convince me.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's an NPC. Like
that's a great descriptor.
Yeah, he's a 2K NPC or like a 2K created player. But even that is better. coming off the bench behind Lively than praying Dwight can hold it down for you for 18 minutes, which thankfully for most of the season he has been able to. I give him his credit for that. And praying that Holmes just doesn't light the defense on fire. Because like offensively, he'll probably give you something. On the boards, he might give you something. Defensively, you never know. With Nick Richards, I feel like we could, between he and Dwight stabilizing that backup role, I feel like we could find some more stable ground when Lively is off the court, whereas we have no way of knowing where we're getting night to night as we are right now.
Yeah. I'm not married to anything. Like, I normally get pretty emotional about this stuff, and I'm just kind of like, okay, fine. Like, I can't even be, I'm happy Josh is playing well. Be happy if they kept him because, man, like his corner 3 shooting right now makes me feel good.
Yeah, it's like again, like I won't even be that mad if they don't do the deal. I will be sort of disappointed if we don't upgrade like the 4 position, like that big wing position at all. But if it's like, hey, we want to keep Josh, I'll do it begrudgingly, but I'll get it because what Josh has shown in the last month is like, okay, this is something that we can build on. Now, we're going to get to the summer and we're going to look at wherever the season ends and we're going to ask questions. Okay, what are we building towards with this? Yeah. Did we just keep him to use him with these picks that we have in the summer? Because again, as long as Kyrie is here, he's the 2. Sure. We know who the 1 is. So Josh and Josh is not a wing. So it's going to be difficult for him to carve out a role and really grow into what we need him to be playing these bench minutes.
Oh, we'll see. Hey, man, thank you for once again hopping on the show. I really appreciate it.
Of course, dude. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. Just so everybody knows, if there is a trade, I will do another live show tomorrow night or something. I will go live. My work is not super busy this week. I say that. I should knock on wood. We'll see what's going on. All right, coming up next is Mike. Then we're going to go Micah, and then we're going to go Leo. Mike, welcome to the show. What's up, man?
What's up, buddy? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound good. What's going on?
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to come up and say that it's good to get a win. I basically don't count any losses that don't have Kyrie or Luka at this point because it's like it's all we have.
Sure.
It's all we have. So good win. Also wanted to say I also agree with you. We should not trade our first round pick. I would rather trade THJ and seconds and get what we can with that. It's going to be his best season. I don't know what else he's going to do these next seasons, but he's been like the most infuriating Maverick for me for like the past 2 seasons, and he's been pretty good this season. So I think we should capitalize on that. Get him out of here. I don't really care about those seconds. Give as many seconds as possible. Try to get someone else in here, and then try to go after the dude from the Hornets. The buyout guy. I'm pretty sure they played Kyrie and him played in Boston when he got hurt. If that dude gets bought out, I would bring him in. But I don't really want to. I just want to see what this team can do in the playoffs. I'm not really expecting much.
I keep looking at the standings, man, and I have dark thoughts. Have you seen the Clippers? Have you seen what
I don't want to play the Clippers?
What fucking Kawhi Leonard is doing to people?
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure they can get in Luka's head pretty easily. So,
I mean, it's like Luka owns the Clippers. No, he doesn't. No. Like, he's had an incredible series against them. That's not the same thing. I gotta find this stat line because there's like a 30 game. There's like a 30 game thing where Kawhi's just absolutely losing his mind. Like, he's been shooting 50% from 3. At a certain point. I can't find the stat. I don't want to take everybody's time, but it's just, I look at this and I'm just terrified. I'm terrified. I don't want to play it. Like any other team you lose, fine. Like, I play the Thunder. We could beat the Thunder. Maybe it'd be fun, it'd be hard, but it's just different. I don't want to play the Nuggets. I want to get I also don't want to be in the play-in, but as I said earlier in the show, I don't really see that seems hard. It just seems hard.
Yeah, their 2 best players have experience guarding Luka for 14 games in the playoffs, so it's like, and they're just super good. It's like, I don't know, I don't want to deal with that. I mean, there is the dice roll of Harden in the playoffs and Kawhi, his quad. What happens there?
Yep.
So it's not like it's a complete automatic.
I'm not convinced.
But
I shouldn't say this out loud. I'm not convinced Kawhi was ever hurt. Like, he's played so many games. I know he tore his ACL, but everybody's like, he has a degenerative thigh decision. Or did the NBA threaten his money and now he's playing ball? I'm not convinced. He's playing so many games. He's been so awesome. I hate him.
That's so true, man. We should have tried to trade for him. It was looking pretty bad this offseason when we got hurt. Yeah. I don't know. We didn't have anything to trade. So
That's right. All right, man. You got anything else?
No, that's all I wanted to say.
You're the man. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
All right, coming up next is Micah and then Leo. Micah, what's going on, man? Oh, no, I put Leo up first. My bad. Leo, what's going on?
Hi, can you hear me?
A little bit. Speak a little louder. Come closer.
All right, how's that?
Much better. What's going
on? Just my point of view with how the trade talk's been going. Wasn't there a report that both Sham and Woj said like this is the slowest trade deadline talks that they'd seen in a minute?
I've not looked because I've been so irritated with the way they've had to frame the Joel Embiid injury talk that I've kind of gotten I don't even pay attention anymore. I wait for my staff to tell me what's happening because otherwise if I get caught up in the moment, I get really mad and I can't do that right now.
Well, I just wanted to get your opinion because the talk right now, well, the most interesting talks for me personally, I've been getting Andrew Wiggins for draft compensation, not for the idea of Andrew Wiggins, but for the idea of draft compensation. Because at this point, with a team that has no picks, 1 or 2 players, if you want to call Hardy that, it just seems like the more prudent play is to get more chips and assets in than trying to get rid of our one asset for another tweener player. Which, again, it's a bigger tweener player, but it's still a tweener player. A 7'7" guy who can't guard players like Julius Randle who already give us problems.
Sure.
And Kawhi. And I get it, it's Josh, but how many guards are actually playing on this team at an active time? It's Luka, Tim, and Josh, because Kyrie's always hurt, and then Exum's hurt right now. And Hardy has like the fastest hook for good reason, but those are your 3 playable guards. And I get building around Kai, but if he's not playing, what are you building around?
Sure.
But no, I just wanted to know if there are any talks that you've had with your insider friends about anyone.
Yeah, little. I mean, they've been poking around about all sorts of stuff, but nothing seems to have been particularly hot. Which, depending on your opinion, is, it kind of is what it is. Things can happen very quickly at trade deadline time because there's nothing like having to make a decision. So that's just sort of where I stand right now. I'm good with whatever they end up being because I don't know how much anything moves the needle or not. I just it's tough.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kirk. And
right.
I just hope we can finally get another center on this team. Thank you.
One day we'd have to, what about JaVale? We remember JaVale. All right. Have a good night, Leo. All right. Micah, what's up, man?
What's going on, Kirk? Can you hear me?
I can. You sound good.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure I'm having to use a mic on my phone. Joy of having dogs. They always chew your headphones up.
Sure. You actually sound a little better. I don't know why. Like sometimes with the other stuff sounded like you're kind of talking through water sometimes. But that's all right.
Yeah, sometimes. What did you think about that tomahawk dunk from Kyrie?
Didn't know he had that in him anymore. I mean, folks that don't know how big he is, I know there's the listing on the report. 6'2", 6'1", 175 pounds.
He's 6'2". It's just like you kind of it's funny. Like I even had the argument with somebody like sometimes like heights are you understand height. Like Grant, for example, I don't give a crap that he's listed at 6'6". That dude is 6'4", bro.
Right. Right.
That dude is all of 6'4". All you got to do is look at him standing next to Satu Sabali, and they're, same height.
Wings player, by the way. And that's I need to use that point more often. Because, they stand right next to each other.
Standing right next to each other. That dude's 6'4".
Mm-hmm. Less people have argued about the Grant thing though. But after it was Nick Angstad posted a photo of like him and Tim Hardaway, and he was like, "Wait, what? I thought this guy was 6'6". And it's like, nope.
No. That dude's 6'4". Like that's just like people talking about not one PJ Washington because he's 6'7" or whatever. I'm like, bro, that's 3 inches better than what we got. Like, so, but I don't know. I don't know what they end up deciding to do. I'll just live with it. And honestly, maybe the play-in doesn't sound like that great of an idea. But I feel a hell of a lot more comfortable with Minnesota or Oklahoma City than I do against those other two teams behind them. Like, oh yeah, the stat that you were trying to think of about Kawhi Leonard in the last 30 games, he is averaging 26.5 points a game.
This is what I was looking for.
Yeah, 26.5 points a game on 52, 55, 92 splits.
Hear that again, guys. 52, 55, 90. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's why like Luka is not in a lot of people's MVPs conversation, largely because he's not in the top 6. But then you look at like Kawhi's numbers and it's like, oh, okay. Okay. I get it.
Right. Well, why is like, if I'm just being honest, like they basically had the same record and had to figure out how to completely change their offense in the middle of the season. Like, since like Embiid's basically ineligible. I'm sorry, to me, Kawhi's got a better case than Shea does. That's just my opinion.
Strong take. I like it.
I don't know. Because he's a way better defender, even now. He just is. So
I appreciate it.
But yeah, I don't know what they do as far as the trade. I just I'm not interested in bench players. Like,
Sure.
That's just where I'm at. Like I'm not moved by Bobby Portis. That dude's a bench player. Like it's just I don't think they can start getting any further than where they're at until they change the fact that they only have 3 starting caliber players.
Sure.
That's where they're at. But we'll see what they do, I guess.
It's a good take.
Wiggins does kind of scare me because what if you find out that you're paying $30 million for Dorian?
I mean, like, he's such a difficult player to ascertain because it just seems like basketball's not the thing he's that interested in. He's just really, really good at it. So what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, their situation is so weird in Golden State. I have a lot of mutuals on Twitter, and
yeah,
they're going out the same way that LeBron's going out for the same reason that Steve Kerr and that big 3 treats everybody that helps him win like irrelevant outsiders, and that's why Pascal didn't want to go over there.
Yeah.
He said when it was brought up, and like, nah, I'm good. I'm not going to resign there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think anybody wants to deal with Draymond. I don't think anybody wants to deal with Clay, thinking he's still Clay.
Yeah.
Even though his last interview was sad, like
that was. He knows he's done.
Yeah, anytime you see a player or an athlete just recognizing their sports mortality, it's tough.
Yeah, it is. Oh, brother. Got anything
That's all I got, Kirk. Yeah. No, that's all I got, Kirk.
Thanks so much. Hope to talk soon.
All right, we'll do.
Okay, so Josh and I'll be back on Thursday. And if there's something that happens tomorrow, I'll record tomorrow and we'll do another live show. Be looking for the posting because I like doing these. Thanks so much for hanging out. This has been Kirk Henderson. This has been Pod Maverick presents Mavs Party. Thanks so much and have a great rest of the week, guys. Bye.